Oh my God, we're
Or
recording. Just so you know, we're recording.
oh,
Just
I
because
thought
this is
you
going to
got
be
personal.
outtakes. This is
We
outtakes.
should probably bring the curses down to like, one every
No,
20
you can.
minutes or something.
No, you can say you're not blue. No,
Pretty blue. I mean, this is daylight is blue, and it seems really rosy and whatever, but it's really blue. So
I'm pink right now.
you
It's
are
like
very
we're
pink.
a
All right, so
baby
I guess
shower.
the gender, whatever. Okay, Pinky, I'll
We're-
be blue. Oh, well, so kill some stuff, drill some things.
I'm gonna go bake some pies.
Today on gender conforming stereotypes, I'm the host. Okay, so you are
Um,
recording, yes?
I
keep
am.
thinking to myself, what's speaking to my- I keep thinking to myself, these are my new old glasses, by the way. I put
You
them
look
on.
great.
No, I hate them. I mean, that's not
Why?
because the last ones, literally, the last ones, everyone said, "God, they make you look smarter." I'm like, yes, and then I lost them, so now I look like an idiot again. Apparently. Moron.
Yeah.
Today's guest on Bree's show is a moron with weird luck.
Yes. Okay.
Today on Adventures, I was going to say Adventures in Babysitting.
I
Today on
know.
Adventures in Adversity, I have to look. This is the problem with being a voiceover guy is you can't remember anything anymore.
Now, Josh,
Today
it's a webinar.
Adventures in Adversity, a podcast sponsored. Well, your host Bree Wilson, the one and only, most fabulous, incredible. Wait, what is it?
I
It's
don't have sponsors yet, but that's the plan. Is that I'm cool
by
enough to get
Bree's
some.
bank account and her
Yes.
husband and the
One
kids.
day, Josh, I'll have a sponsor.
Oh,
One
let's
day.
get you one. Yeah. Well, after this show, after your
Maybe.
10th and the big town, when you bring out the big guns.
What if Jon Stewart hears this and he's like, I want to sponsor that podcast?
Possibly, but unlikely. I mean, my buddy Jon Stewart, who I have talked to in 30 years, give or take, something like that, whatever. We're buds, total buds,
You're
absolutely.
like, what up, Jay Money? Okay.
You know that Jon Stewart's last name is actually Lebowitz?
No, it's not
Yeah.
John Lebowitz.
It's Jon
Josh
Stewart
Lebowitz?
is his middle name, Jon Stewart Lebowitz.
Oh, I didn't
Mine's
know that.
Lebowitz, but that means we're all related. So he's actually blood. He's actually cuz.
He is.
What's up, cousin? We'll be like in the bear. I'll just start calling him cousin, and you'll know who I'm talking about.
Okay, so we're gonna just laugh the whole time.
We've started on a tangent, and we will continue.
But I'm bringing it back.
Yeah, if you try to chart this as a grammar sentence, forget it. Good luck, man. Anyway,
remember that.
So,
yes. From our service nowadays.
Seizure. That'd be good.
Yes. Okay, so intro the podcast, and then I'm going to start interviewing you because you are my 10th guest. And if at any time you do not want to answer the question, just answer it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't answer. You can't answer. You can't ask me any questions that I'll be like, oh, I'm going to come. Yeah, I'm an open book. No secrets.
That's what I thought.
Weirdo. Yeah. What you see is what you. There's no internal editor. Clearly.
There's no.
Most of your guests aren't doing antler ears on your whatever. So
that's why we call.
Welcome to Bree Wilson's 10th, not 9th, 10th episode of. I want to say Adventures in Babysitting. Adventures in Adversity. And let's see, sponsored by all sorts of invisible sponsors, making her a very rich woman, Oprah. Look out. What else? Right, it's an inspirational. What did you call it? Inspiration.
It's a
where Bree talks to a bunch of weirdos, normal people and the occasional weirdo, about adversity, about getting through life and strategies to do that, and yada yada yada. And here we go.
A little bit of this and a little bit of that.
A little bit of this.
So Josh,
yes, Bree. Yes,
before we get into all of our tangents,
yeah.
Too late. I want to give my global audience, because believe it or not, I'm worldwide, baby. Worldwide.
I'm in Portugal. I'm listening, so there you go. Bam, bam.
There you go. I have one person in every country. No, I'm kidding.
I like it. That's like 200 people if you add it all up.
Exactly. So, Josh, how do we? Let's tell our listeners, how the hell do we know each other?
Well, Bree and I met in a women's prison. Not true at all.
My God.
I worked at ServiceNow for 2 years. Bree, you've worked there for 3, I think, yeah? Give or take, a little over?
3.5.
3.5 corporate
But
women.
I remember within my first year, I hired you.
Yes.
We
Well,
hired you. I
I
didn't hire
think
you.
the
I
group
interviewed
hired
you.
me, but yeah, if you want to
No,
take credit
I
for
did
it,
not hire you. I interviewed you, and then we hired you. We were peers.
yes,
Let's
I
be clear.
loved meeting you. That was sort of like, okay, this could actually be a good place. And I loved Andy, our former boss, and there's a bunch of people on that team that I really love. And it was a really fun place. And honestly, without sounding cheesemo, you were one of the best parts about that job because it was so fun. And the gifts going back, it was like a gift war. Except there was nobody got hurt. Everyone just had
I
a,
know.
and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. That's a good place, and I liked the culture. It was changing a little bit as people do when they grow from 2 billion to 60 billion or whatever we're doing, whatever you guys now they are doing. Um, yeah,
$100 billion.
well, Desco 21C or whatever. Yeah, okay, Bill. And now it's Xanadu. All I could think of was Olivia Newton-John and leather. That's probably Greece, not even Xanadu. But anyway.
ServiceNow had a Xanadu release, and
Yes, right.
Josh is
Sorry,
going
everybody who doesn't
to.
know what the hell we're talking about.
They're
Yes,
like,
they name each release after cities. They've gone so far; they're deep into the end of the alphabet, and they're X. That's how Xanadu is spelled. For those of you who don't know. So anyway, so Bree and I were colleagues for 2 years, and it's been about almost a year since I've
left us.
Holy mother! And I have moved to Portugal, so you have now audience, huge audience. I mean, big, important
I
audience
mean,
in Portugal.
are you the mayor yet? Are you the first
No, I am
American
not the mayor,
born
but we
mayor?
know people. I ran into the mayor the other day, and
Oh my
we don't
gosh!
like him because he didn't sign the thing we needed signed for 7 months. Like the house used to be an Airbnb, now it's a house, and we needed that to happen for and he would.
Yeah.
He's very busy going on vacation and
So you
take
literally know the
drives or
mayor.
whatever he's doing. It was like that guy's a punk. Nobody likes him here, but we do know people we call the mayor who are actually not the mayor. In fact, the mayor is actually called the president. None of it makes any sense. The vice president, who's the vice
Okay.
mayor, actually signed our silly form, and now we're a house again. It's a beautiful house with a whole bunch of bedrooms. You must come see because
Yes, I'm not kidding. And I know Yvette said she is like planning a trip to Portugal like next
nice.
summer, and I'm like,
Okay.
I'm like, hit him up, and she's like, I'm going to. I'm like,
Technically, you and
yeah.
Yvette are different people, but you're both welcome to come. So, in fact, here, let me see if I can do this. Watch me getting fancy. This is the view from my office. Oh, it's
Oh my
backwards.
gosh.
That's the
That's the
pool.
pool.
Yeah, you can't really see the resolution is such that
Is
it's
that the
just
guest house?
that's the casita. Yeah, that's the guest house.
Casita.
Casita. Anyway, it's unfortunate that my fancy camera is not really working well.
Well, in what city in Portugal are you in?
Well, I'm loath to tell you that because,
You
I
can't.
had stalkers and whatever. Let's just say we're in the north in one of
True.
Portugal's oldest cities.
Okay, perfect. That
Man,
makes
I'd be a
sense.
little weird about telling people where we are because it's so nice and it's
You
so
know what? You're
we don't
right.
want to ruin it. We don't want all the
You're right.
gringos to go up. So.
I'm in the Bermuda Triangle right now as we speak.
Got it. Yes.
You're like, wait,
Where
what?
planes disappear after getting Mexican food.
Yes.
Sure. Okay. Whatever. Yeah.
So you're
Anyway.
loving the
I'm absolutely loving living here. My lovely bride Elizabeth and I are absolutely head over heels. Like no, I want to get a tattoo that says no regrets.
Yes.
But anyway, it's great. It's really nice. I mean, there's a few weird things like I don't know the antiperspirant I can't find it. All right, whatever. Fine, we'll figure it out. It's like ooh, people are like, ooh, there's paperwork. Yeah, there's paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork. Okay, so
you make it happen.
I
remember you talking about it, and then you made it happen, and you're there now.
Well, that's my wife. She's an insanely organized. She intentionalizes things, and they happen. So be careful. Like if she goes, "Gee, I really want to buy a country," you're like, "Oh Christ!"
You're like, and we're buying a country.
Not that we have any kind of money, but somehow she makes things happen. So yeah, so we got really lucky. We were looking at a couple different houses. They all kept falling through, and then this one came on the market, and we snatched it up because in California, that's what you do. Here, they were like, oh, you had about a year to think about it. We're like, what? So
You're like,
we didn't know, but it's all good. And we love it. There's 5 bedrooms in the house. Everyone has a bathroom. Plus there's a social bathroom, which sounds gross, but it's for parties because every bedroom has a bathroom. And then there's one
right.
assigned to a bed. So and a party and we have a lot of parties. We have dinner parties a lot.
Yes.
One has to go into my room to go take a, break
Yes.
or whatever. Anyway,
So you're in Portugal now, and
yeah.
I want to rewind it back to little Josh and then not
Okay, here
little
I'll do the music.
not
So rewind.
little Josh, then adolescent Josh, and then I know in all those Joshes there's been one theme. And what do you think it is?
Being really, really loud.
And
I was the family comedian because my family was, let's just say, racked with, there was divorce, and then my brother was really shy, and my mom would fight with him, and my dad. So I was always like the, hey, look at me, I was like Dorco, and that held through in school, class clown. That held through, on the radio, just yucky. I mean, I've come to meet a lot of introverts, and I'm still not an introvert. I mean, no.
you
And
know,
I love the introverts. I kid the introverts, but I do love them. And I'm definitely an extrovert. I love people and hanging around with, just feeding. Not that sounds creepy, like Hannibal Lecter, but feeding off their energy. Ooh, yeah.
I'm feeding people.
Anyway, sorry.
Oh,
So,
that's good.
yeah. So humor has gotten me through life, and I think to a point it's got. I mean, you are kind of a kindred spirit. I hate to say it, but
I I never laughed so hard in my life. I think like I mean at a job like you don't usually laugh that hard. When
ideally, yeah, that's true. But that's kind of you to. I think that's kind of you to say. We never quite finished the sentence, but I think I know where you're going with that. And yeah, it's a, if you're not laughing, you're crying usually, and so you may as well,
and it's I think it's not that serious usually
Right.
like
Well, the work is. I mean, the world is. There's a hot bunch of messes. I mean, the world is a hot mess in a lot of different ways. But you can be super upset about it, which I am, and you can sit and be depressed all day long, which I know a lot of people are. But
yes.
it's like, I'm going to try and use my time here. I want to have fun. I want to be with the people I love and like, and which is why working with you was awesome, honestly, because it just was. And I'm going to try and do the best I can, but I also realize I can't solve every problem in the world. And I'll try, and I'll give money where I can, and I'll,
Yeah.
use whatever platform I have to amplify stuff. But, yeah, I mean,
And I should correct myself like stuff when you're like oh like at work when you might be like oh like this slide and then you get all wrapped around the axle and you're like okay now is this health impacting is this
right,
but
right.
there, like you said there is a lot of serious stuff and then as like we're extroverts and we
Yeah,
like feel like we feel deeply like when I see someone upset I'm
yeah,
like feeling that or if I see someone laughing I'm like oh my god like what's going on over there like you want to
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
so it's hard when all this stuff's happening but then I feel like we can bring some sort of like joy by our annoying extroversion slash comedy.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm sure there were people on the team who were like, "Good God, will that guy ever shut up?" And I got a little of this, got a little of this, and then I was like, "Okay." So I,
Not from me. Not
right,
from
maybe
me
not
ever.
from you, whatever, it doesn't matter, and that's fine. That's like, yeah. Guess what? I've had that before. Guess what? I've been really loud kind of forever. So, and I would at work, like at Comedy Central or wherever, I would walk up to somebody and just say, hey, and they'd be like, whoa, wow, why are you so loud? And I was trying to be like, I'm almost whispering for me. Just, maybe I'm deaf. I don't really know, but
So tell me about Comedy Central. When did you start working there? How did you navigate your way in there? And like, tell
okay,
me about
not
your
to bore.
experience.
How long is your podcast, by the way? Because the
My
one I,
podcast. Well, I am the sole owner, producer, and
right,
want to be on this podcast. So we can talk as long as you
hostess
want.
with the mostess, I'll say. All right, I'll try and keep it short because all my stories, as my
No,
wife right
go.
now, my wife is right now in California. She's near you. She
Yeah,
just got there yesterday to see our kids and blah blah blah.
yeah.
And I can feel her eyes rolling even before I start talking about myself because she's heard it all so many times
But
before.
my listeners
Fair
have
enough.
not, and
So
you are a very unique person that has if you're just fucking hilarious. So
Well, that's
talk.
nice of you to say. Hey, language. My virgin ears. Okay. Anyway, so I started at the comedy. It wasn't even Comedy Channel. It was C3 TV, the cable cavalcade of cable comedy cavalcade, some dumb thing. And then it was briefly CTV, which ironically is Canadian television. So there was a slight lawsuit action happening there. Anyway,
Hmm.
I was brought on board for the pilot actually. I was the PA on the pilot. It was Paula Poundstone. It was who else was it?
Is PA
Brian.
production assistant?
Yeah, sorry, PA is
Yeah.
production. My son is the PA, but he's a physician assistant, which is kind of like
Yes.
a junior doctor. PA in television is production assistant.
Got
AP
it.
is associate producer. There's all sorts of AD is assistant director, blah blah blah.
Got it.
Anyway, so yeah, I was just there on the shoot on the pilot, and I was screening shows for clips. The idea of the Comedy Channel before it was Comedy Central was supposed to be an MTV of comedy. So it was like
Mm.
2 minute and 13 seconds was the longest we had because it was promotional. It was like 400 feet of film equaled 2 minutes and 13 seconds. So that arbitrarily was like, okay, you have 2 minutes, 13 seconds to promote things, no longer than that. So that was like, okay. And we had we started clipping things and screening things and stand up and TV shows and movies and whatever
Yeah.
else we had. So
And how old were you?
I was 11. Not true. I was, let's see, in 1989. Oh, here we go. I was 23, something like that. Something sad like that.
Yeah.
Something. I'm more than twice that old now, which is
Okay.
horrifying. But maturity-wise, I've gained maybe a year or two. I haven't
No,
really
no,
matured.
you're still in the adolescent maturity phase with me.
Oh, very
We
much.
both are.
Adolescent is nice. 11 is usually where I've been.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
right there with you. That's why we get
so,
along.
yeah, exactly. Yes, the inner child, or not the inner. Yes.
Our inner children would hang
Yes.
out for sure.
Right on the outside. Oh God, how I would not have been able. Oh, like, oh, you're too cool.
Oh
You're
my
too
God, they
cool.
would
Whatever
separate
it
us in
is.
class. They'd be like, they can't be at the same table.
That's also true. Passing notes and stuff. Yeah, that's true. I'd be usually in the back, cracking wise. Instead of
Okay,
paying
so
attention. Right.
you're 23. You're clipping your
Yeah,
PA in.
I was the head clipper was my job. I mean, after the pilot and stuff, then we were like, okay, we're going to build a channel. We need inventory. So, hey, Lebowitz, get to work.
Lebowitz.
So I got to work, and then we had a couple other clippers, and I was the king of the clippers. And then one thing led to another, and the channel was, not to bore your fans, but basically there was a Viacom channel and a HBO channel. So there were two comedy channels, and neither was doing really well because nobody wanted to piss off Viacom, and nobody wanted to piss off Time Warner, HBO.
Mhm.
So everyone was like, what do we do? And so they were both sort of failing, and then they decided to merge. Even though the two channels were like Viacom and HBO or Time Warner were suing Viacom was suing us because HBO was doing way too much, way better than Showtime at the time, and they were all pissed off that we were somehow monopolizing something, and so they're suing us in court on this case. And then like, hey, in the meantime, let's get in bed together on this Comedy Channel thing, and they merged the channels, and each one had a 50% share for like 20 years, and then eventually Viacom bought them out not too long ago. But like, you're suing each other and you're like courting. It was very weird, very odd. So that's what happened.
And so then you're working at Comedy Central.
Yes, 5 years. And I was supposed to be a 3-week gig, a freelance, and I ended up being there for 5 years. Staff, I had a little staff. I was staff job. I had a little crew, bunch of people, which were great. Super nice people. They basically did, I was a manager at 20, whatever, but, I barely knew what was going on. So it's like 80. Yeah, it was about 90. Yeah, it was about 24, 25, 26, something. And I remember one time I have a really good friend who happens to be a gay woman, and I had to put offices together. So I stuck her with this guy who was a very straight white male Republican. He was very much not any of those things. And so she was so angry with me that day. And I was like, what have I done? And they ended up being like the best of friends. He was amazingly cool. She's incredible. She's like him. Yeah. She and her wife are basically the godmothers to our children. I mean, I'm still friends with her almost 40 years later. It's like for
Yeah.
30 years later or something
So
like
she's
that.
not mad at you anymore.
Not anymore. No. She got me back in other ways. I made the great mistake of being very like full of myself one day, and I said something. Oh, they're a protege of mine, which is a terrible thing, even if it were true. Like it was sort of true. I trained someone how to be a clipper, and I don't know why a protege. So they all made. She got me back in many ways. One of them was like protege pins, like they had little like my face on them. And, I'm a protege of Josh Lebowitz. Whatever.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
You were feeding on your face.
Because I had cultivated a small crew of proteges. Yeah, no, it was stupid, but it was a fun crowd. And once in a while there would be conflict, and I was really terrible at conflict because I hate conflict, and so that wasn't so great. And I'll tell you one other story. There was a came down to two clients. Like I was interviewing for other clippers, because I was clipping anymore.
Assistant clippers.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it came down to two really qualified people. And one of them happened to be an part of an underserved.
Not you.
Not me. And then the other guy was your generic white guy. And so I went with the other guy because they were basically the same on paper, but one, I wanted to bring a little more diversity into the group. Whatever. Yeah. And I made the great mistake of telling the other guy this. And sorry, bud, but it's the other guy. And he was like, so he screwed off, and 5 years later, I'm now a voiceover guy, and I'm up for this job, and I get this job. It's the voice of this show called This Week in History, which was essentially in 1941, Mussolini took a poo or whatever it was, and so like they had hundreds of episodes.
Oh my God!
So anyway, the ironic thing was that the guy who did not get the job ends up being the producer of that show. And he's like, Josh Lebowitz, I remember you. I'm like, oh, damn. He's like, I think we're going to do a lot of takes, man. I'm like, whatever you want. That's all good. I totally get it. You have every right to be a little peeved, but I still think I did the right thing and whatever. And so he rode me pretty hard on that. I did, it's a voiceover gig. So it's like, whatever.
4 million takes.
Right. We'll talk about whatever. The guy, Jim Irsay, who moved the Colts from Baltimore to Indianapolis. Fine. You need another take? Fine. We'll do another take. I was getting paid so well. Yeah, it really didn't matter. Anyway, but it was sort of a funny moment. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
So is it safe to say when you were working at Comedy Central, was it ever serious?
Rarely. They wanted us to be much more serious than we were. We had this was before the channel was a big deal. Like it was just under the radar.
Yeah.
We had graffitied our offices all over the place. I had an old TV, like a TV frame, and I'd drawn a bunch of pictures of me. I have this sort of weird stylized stick figure that looks like me with a big nose and hair and a beard. And I had drawn like the United colors of Josh, like a bunch of different colors of me and whatever we had, and it was really fun, and everyone was a class clown. Like literally everyone was. It was like doing shtick.
I can imagine a meeting.
It was a lot of fun, and then it got a little bit more corporate, and then they wanted to make money and whatever.
I mean, whatever. Yeah. Lame. So tell me when you were there, because I want to have this recorded. I need some of your voiceovers or your impressions or something you did while you were at Comedy Central. Okay. Off the cuff. He did not know I was going to ask him to do.
No. Well, the voiceover stuff came later, but it started there. How to describe this quickly.
You're like, thanks, Bree. Thanks for the heads up.
Basically, we had a guy named Penn Jillette, who is half of Penn and Teller. He's the big guy who talks like this.
No way.
Teller is the mute guy who's much smaller.
Yes.
And who talks to Blue Streak, by the way, off camera. Another story. But Penn sort of sounds like this, and he's got blah, 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 blah. And he used to be a big, huge guy. Now he's a much skinnier guy.
Yeah.
Vegas, Magic, they're great.
They're like legends. Yeah.
Penn is a weirdo. He's a very smart guy, very odd. And he's incredible in this range. Like his range is tight, but really good at what he is. Like, so back in the day, you heard, that's Comedy Central. That's the voice of Comedy Central, which it was. However, if you ever needed something like, a sweet romantic thing, like you were doing a parody of for promos. I was in promos.
Uh-huh.
He couldn't do like this, or he couldn't do like a Crazy Eddie guy, or he couldn't do like a lot of things that others of us could do. And so I would do the Crazy Eddie thing, and I would do, the tick is a large blue superhero. Your mileage may vary. Dealer says actual retail price. That kind of stuff, stupid things like that. So I
Oh,
would do a lot of dumb things that Penn couldn't do, and there we go. So that's how I started. That's how I started amassing a little voiceover reel,
yeah.
and then I was in a session one day with a woman named Alex Rohde, who's a great female voiceover. This
Uh-huh.
is a while ago, and she was running late, but she didn't have that much to do. We had like 10 minutes for her to record. I
Yeah.
can't remember what she was recording. And what you do, again, a tangent upon a tangent upon a tangent, but what you did back in the day when people had to go into the studio, like as opposed to having their own studio here,
Yeah.
um, you'd book a half plus a half hour plus a half hour bump in case you run into script troubles
Got it.
or the town is stuck in traffic, as was the case this time. So she shows up 20 minutes late. We burn 10 minutes into our bump. So we've blown the first half hour and 10 minutes of the second half hour. We finished what we did. Thanks so much. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She takes off, and I was like, "Hey, Tony," who was the engineer. I was like, "Slate me. I'm going to go in and record something." He was like, "What?" Because I knew me as a producer. I had a freelance gig for this channel called HBO Family, and they hadn't even launched yet. And I just was doing a scratch track.
Yeah.
And the scratch track was, whether you look at the new school year like this or like this, have a great year from HBO Family. And the this was like the parents were exulting, like they were exulting because it was the end of summer and the kids finally going back to school. So there's like, they are running and in love and the pigeons are scattering, and then, or like this. And the kids like, have a great year from HBO. And so I ran in, I just blanked, blah, 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 those out because I'd written them, I knew how they should be read. And
Yeah.
then I used those and I sent them to the people, and I'm like, "Oh my God, who is that voice?" I'm like, "Durr, hello, idiot, it's me, moron, it's called Scratch Track." And they were like, "No, no, 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 you don't understand. We've had like 100 people in. No one can get the vibe of this thing. You got it without even trying." I'm like, "Well, that's because I didn't know I was auditioning for anything or whatever." And then she was like, "Can we use these?" I'm like, "Sure." "Can we pay you for them?" "Sure." Whatever. I don't care. And then she calls back and goes, "Those came together really nicely." And the whole thing was to do cheap. So like, it was like 3 shots, everything was
Yeah.
super cheap. And then she was like, "How'd you like to make a lot of money?" I'm like, "Well, gee, let me think about that for a minute." Durr. Yeah. What do you need? You want me to paint your house? Fine,
Yeah.
whatever. So that led to being the voice of that channel. That led to getting into what was then AFTRA, is now SAG-AFTRA, union pension, all that sort of stuff. I got into union because HBO is a union shop. And this was an
Oh,
HBO splinter channel called HBO Family.
I
And
remember HBO Family.
I
You
was
were
the
the
voice,
voice.
and I think for about 7, 8 years, something like that. He's a dog, she's a dolphin. Together, they're Zeus and Roxanne. Coming up next on HBO Family. That was, way back in the day. So anyway, none of this has anything to do with your topic at hand, I am afraid. But
But no, this is the tee up of you. You've always been in the comedic realm. And
supposedly,
then even when we worked together at Service Now, which was not a comedy show, we kind of turned it into a little bit of a comedy
yeah,
show
yeah,
just
because that's
by
way more fun than talking about PowerPoints and AI and
no.
AI and AI and
Well,
AI and AI.
AI. Well, and I think there's something to be said, like bringing humor into like the corporate world.
Yes, please.
I
Well, okay. There's another story which is going to make me sound even
mean,
more like a narcissistic schmuck. But
I
there's a
mean,
guy named Rene Bonvanie who is like the world's best CMO for
uh-huh.
whatever that is. He's a
Yeah.
really great guy. He's brilliant. He was at Palo Alto Networks for a long time. He was sort of the guy who helped build that massive security company, from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
He's Dutch and he's half some French and Dutch and he speaks 7 languages and he's this incredible guy. And I show up there because I knew somebody and it was this weird hire. Like I did not, fit the box because I'm an old TV guy and I'm a comedy writer and la 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 la
Yeah.
la la. And he was telling this story. He said, "Oh, I was talking about because I'm friendly with his son, who's a really great guy, Sander, and I was having dinner with the two of them one time. This is long after we'd stopped working
Yeah.
together. And he said, "Oh, your name came up just the other day. I talk about you all the time in presentations." I'm like, "What?" It's like, are you absolutely yanking my chain because who would talk about me? Like I'm just some random weird low to mid-level nerd in the company. He was like, "No, no, 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 no. There was you and this guy whose name is Eric somebody, and you were my two favorite hires." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Because Eric was a speechwriter for Obama and just completely not, the usual tech whatever. And you were this Comedy Central guy or whatever who was this big doofus. And yet, I could sort of,
Yes.
thanks. Well, that's true, guilty as charged.
Yeah.
But so he was just like, yeah, and it worked out really well. And that was a fun job for a really long time. And it sort of got my copywriting chops going. And, we had a lot of fun. It was a lot like ServiceNow in a way where it was a creative group in a corporate place and the work was somewhat dull, but the people were really fun. And it was a weird group of randos and, a lot of designers, very, very focused on design.
Yeah.
And the writers, we were a couple of writers and a copywriter or two, and we were just more or less left alone.
Yeah.
And we get yelled at once in a while. The boss was a big yeller, and "Oh, that ad's crap." I'm like, "All right, whatever."
Yeller. You're like, meh.
Nah, whatever.
Well, so yeah, so like, no, but the whole theme and the whole thing that I always think about you is like bringing humor to whatever you're doing. Like, and I can imagine, so you're a parent.
Correct.
And I am a parent as well. I am a parent in training. I'm
you're killing it, Brie. What are you talking about?
I'm a young Padawan.
They're amazing. Your kids are awesome and cool and fun and whatever.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah.
But so your kids are both in their 20s, right?
Both in their 70s now. Yeah.
Both in their 70s, exactly. So parenting. So I have a little corner of this podcast called Kids Corner.
Okay.
Misspelled with the K. Kids
Nice.
Corner.
Got it. Like Cars for Kids, sort of.
Cars for Kids.
No, don't. It'll be in there forever. No. Anybody in California, close your ears.
I know, right? 1-877.
That is the most annoying earworm. In fact, when we gave away a car one time, I purposely didn't give it away to Cars for Kids because of that hideous theme song. We gave it to the classical radio station.
Wow, that is so thoughtful.
So 1-800-Cars for Kids. F you. Just saying. No offense. I love the kids, but no, sorry. That's too damn annoying, that song. Anyway.
Program. They literally brainwashed me. I didn't even know that.
Horrifying. I knew. Horrifying. But anyway.
So tell me, as a phase 1 parent, you're in different phase than me because you've gotten
we're like inching towards grandparenthood at this point. I mean, it could happen someday. So
how do you I'm assuming you do. Not that I watched you parent, but knowing you, I've been watching you parent.
That kid camera thing, that baby monitor.
Like, Josh, I watched you parent.
Please connect into this thing. So that, yes. Sorry.
What advice do you have to me and any parents out there? Do you use?
I don't think you need any advice from me. I mean,
How do you use? How does humor? Does humor help you with your children? Be a good parent, or is it all seriousness?
First of all, my kids and my wife both have really well-developed eye rolling. The dad jokes, as you might imagine, they're fast and furious, and the gifs and the family WhatsApp chats. I mean,
they must love it. You're the funniest dad ever.
I don't know. I think they're sort of used to it. It's like, if you live with me, it gets a little tired, I think. My shtick is like, hey, you've got 8 jokes. Everyone's heard them over and over again. It's great for newbies. It's great for new people at work. You're funny. Oh, your wife must be. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, no. And she does. I can still get her once in a while. Like the other night, I was off on a riff on something. She'd had maybe 1 glass of wine too many, and she was not making a lot of sense. And so I just started riffing on, here's this thing, and it's not really working. And again, you had to be there, but it was a little dinner party out at a dinner place. We were actually eating snails, which is not something we normally do. But somebody there really loved the snails, and she was in from Copenhagen, and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And we got the table going because it was funny,
Hey,
once in a while we can still get her going. So,
well, I'm finding that lately, like with Reese, who's 7, first grade, and Braden, who's 9, third grade. When I when I'm funny with them and we can banter, it's actually we're having a blast, and I can get the messages in through the
Yeah.
humor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 We did a lot. Yeah. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of playing, a lot of fun, and a lot of, lovingly ranking on and stuff.
Yes.
And like, just like my daughter, when she was really little, we have a older son, younger daughter. So
Yeah.
it's,
Same.
yeah, it's the
Same
same.
as
Exactly
us.
right. And they're
Yeah.
about 3 years apart, give or
See?
take. So ish, close.
Ish, yeah.
So my daughter had this string where like she would never lose at Candyland. Like, how does this work? Like, there's no skill to that game, and yet she would never lose. And we weren't cheating. We weren't letting her. Like, we would let her win some things when she was really
Yeah.
little, but like after a while, no. You just,
You got to play.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she would win all the time. Like, what? So that became like a theme for a lot of jokes. Like, oh well, whatever it would be, like Casino Carla over here, get her to Vegas because, or whatever. We just would joke around. And I used to do a lot of impersonations and a lot of voices for the kids, and I do some
Oh, they must have
stupid things.
loved that.
And I would
What
go
did
into
they
their
like?
classes. Well, it just any of the dumb voices that I could do. Like Ray Romano. Oh, the thing and the guy. Or whatever. Or Wallace Shawn. Never go up against a Sicilian when death is on. Like things like that. Like I would
Yes.
use dorky anyway. So I
Yes.
would go to their classes like for parent reading day, and I would bring a kid's book that I knew, and I would do all the voices and stuff, and it was fun. And the kids liked it. Usually, they thought it
Oh,
was
yeah.
amazing and weird. But my son, of course, had heard all the shtick before, and my daughter was like, "Oh God, here we go." So I think I was like, I figured by third or fourth grade they'd get tired of that and be like, "Dad, enough."
Yeah.
Well, by like I think it was first grade, after kindergarten, maybe it was first, maybe it was second grade. My son was like, I'm like, "Hey, you guys need somebody to come in and read," and he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I don't think so." I don't think we're doing that this year. I'm like, God, you're a terrible liar. But it was funny, and I was like, oh, that happened quick. Like, oh,
Like, I had fun while it lasted.
he's really. My son is super introverted. My daughter's a little bit more like me, but he's more of an introvert. He doesn't want the attention. I was like,
Oh.
can I get a spotlight? Is there some kind of a tweed light?
Can I get
Yeah.
makeup here? What's going on? Yeah.
Why is your dad wearing makeup? It's a long story. It's for the cameras. No, it's really for the cameras.
Really excited for
Totally.
this.
So.
No, I find my daughter is introverted, and Braden will like
Okay, so we have
say
the
hello to
anyone.
anyone.
You get it. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually one or the other. They're not both the same. Usually birth order, whatever.
Oh, yeah. No, so I think I'm gonna keep applying humor to the child raising.
I mean, honestly, we're very lucky that our kids turned out the way they did. I think, we read to them.
You, I believe it.
Thinking by the gene pool, could have gone a lot of different.
You used to do that. What did you do on the calls? You'd always go like, "Oh, look at me." You're like, "Oh, look at the sky! Look at the sky!" Oh.
Well, I did do a helicopter thing, which was can't really hear it. So
Really, we talked about
it kind of worked out, but I shudder to think that like we're the greatest parents in the world. We just got lucky, good genes. The kids got good genes somehow.
yeah.
Even though there's minefields in both of our families, all kinds of mental health minefields and whatever.
I feel like every family.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Is everyone thinks, oh, everyone's family is perfect. Yeah, no. Oh, no.
Hell no.
There's bipolar in our family. There's depression. There's narcissism of the yin yang. There's a lot of whatever. So
Yeah.
we are so far so good.
Yeah.
We've had speed bumps here and there, but generally kids are good.
And
put some money in the therapy fund. Yeah.
Hey, well, a lot of this podcast is like adversity, mental health, work, raising kids. There's like adversity in all of those areas.
Yeah.
And then it's like talking about how different people cope with it, which is like therapy, exercise, humor. I feel like if you you don't have humor, it's like so like, I don't know if my soul can take it because it's so.
Oh, without humor, life is super miserable. And we've gone through. My wife had cancer about 25 years ago, and we got through that. A lot of it was humor. A lot of it was, again, there. If you weren't laughing, you were crying. We had a lot of help also, and it helped building community. We had just moved up to Westchester from New York City, and maybe 6 months later, all hell breaks loose. And we had mostly because I was working.
Yeah.
She was there with the young kids and was not teaching or writing. Well, she was still writing a little bit. But anyway, long story short, she built this insanely tight community in 6 months. And when all hell broke loose, the dinners started coming and the babysitting started coming, and it
Wow.
was insane. It was incredible.
That's
Super
amazing.
helpful. Yeah.
Community, like all those things. Like,
Community was incredibly, because we never had a lot of family. Like our families were all, generally cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs or not close. Like when we moved out to California, they were now 3,000 miles away. And so even up in Katona, they were far enough away that, or they just couldn't be bothered. There's
yeah.
a lot of narcissism in the family, and
Yeah.
people were doing their own thing, or, still had their careers or whatever. My parents.
Yeah.
So, what was the point of all of that? The point of all of that was, yeah, community was super helpful, and humor. Humor really helped get us through. And
Yes.
my wife would have surgeries and things, and I'd be cracking wise, and she's like, "Please don't do that. It hurts when I look at, like I'm gonna pop a stitch, you asshole." And I was like, all right,
She's like, but that was a good one. But
yeah. I mean,
shut
that
the
was
fuck
it was
up.
like if I can get milk to come out of someone's nose, like that's a good day for me. I'm like, okay, my work here is done. So, and she was miserable, as you might expect, and her mother was going through cancer at the same time. It was like
Oh my
they
gosh.
shared an oncologist, they had adjoining hospital rooms at one point. It was surreal that year.
Oh, surreal for sure.
Oh, it
You're
was
like,
crazy. And
what?
my dad and my stepmother, their marriage blew apart. They were like the last nuclear family. And then there was something else that year. It was, oh yeah, well, her mom had been diagnosed. So that year, basically, there was one year where her mom died from ovarian cancer. She's
Mm.
going through chemo. And then my dad and my stepmother were having like a War of the Roses kind of divorce. So that was our annus miserabilis. That was what we
Wow.
called the year 2000 was just absolute crap
It,
for us. So, yeah.
well,
So,
and like if somebody out there listening, and I ask every guest this, is having a year, a month, a week like that where they're like, holy shit balls.
yeah.
Like, I don't know if I can, this is like a
Yeah.
low. What do
Yeah.
I mean, you use humor.
Yeah.
How do you
One day
remember
at a time,
getting through that?
like my wife would say, literally when she was going through chemo, she'd be like, I just need to make it through this next hour. Like she'd parcel it off into little bite-sized chunks.
Yes.
Go take a nap, go whatever, and we have friends who we have now sadly two sets of friends who have lost an adult-ish child, someone in their 20s, to overdose, sadly. And whether it was intentional or not, one was definitely not. One is kind of hard to say. And it's been remarkable. There's all these different ways of coping with the worst thing in the world that you can think of, and one of them has set up a foundation. Actually, they both set up a foundation. One is much smaller, scale,
Yeah.
and Al-Anon is a big part of one of their journeys because whatever, and Nar-Anon and a bunch of other things. But the 12-step thing seems to be really helping them, and grief groups and all of that. But like, you do the best you can, and you bring in. I would say, don't be afraid to ask for help, because that was extremely helpful. I mean, it was incredibly humbling to do that. Like, we had just moved up here. We think we're on top of the world, and all, the foundation, you get cut off at the knees, and what do you do then? And help, when you don't have to make dinner 7 days a week or whatever, because I'm not a cook, and suddenly my wife was kind of incapacitated. I'm like,
What?
well, we can only eat spaghetti so many nights in a row, or
Yeah.
I can do steak and spaghetti. That's about it. Maybe a peanut butter
Yeah.
and jam sandwich or whatever. So
Yeah.
there was another story I wanted to tell you, which was at that time period, during that time period, years of this, of chemo and then reconstructive surgery and this and that. So we were in a reconstructive surgeon's office, and essentially, he's putting people back together.
Yeah.
And I was reading a book by Bill Bryson at the time, who is a very funny. He's mostly a travel writer, but he's really funny. He's sort of like Dave Barry, and this guy Bruce Chatwin. Bruce Chatwin was an Australian. He died way too young, but he was a big travel writer. And Bill Bryson is sort of like a combo of the two of them. He's very funny, and he's also very sort of into travel and society and what connects us all. And I was reading a book of his called Neither Here Nor There. I think it was sort of travels around Europe, and we were in the waiting room of this surgeon's office, and everyone there is miserable. I mean, it's you're miserable because
you're,
you're miserable.
yeah,
There's no good reason to be in that office. And I'm reading this part about, and this is going to sound really childish, but again, know your author, and so, or know yourself. I was reading about a town in Denmark called Middelfart, and I just thought that was hilarious, and just the way he spins it, like, yeah, that's funny in a way, but the
yeah.
way he was spinning this thing, I'm literally cracking up, laughing out loud
It,
in the most serious, almost the most serious place. It wasn't the oncologists, but it was
it
damn near
was,
close. And people were looking at me like I had six heads because why are you laughing in this place? And I couldn't help it, and I felt terrible. And I felt like an asshole, but it was so nice to be able to just kind of let it go and just like whatever, not hold it together because we were really holding it together
no,
the whole time. So
because you're in the situation. You don't. There's nothing that your wife or your family could do about it. So
yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
you're. It's like when you fight
Here's your
against,
hand. You've been dealt these cards. Like, oh shit, that is really bad.
and then
But
you're
then,
like,
okay,
yeah.
still gonna try and make the pairs and the three things and whatever.
Well, your wife's obviously a badass.
She is a
So
major badass, and she's
yeah.
been healthy as a clam. She's healthy as an ox ever since. And she also takes good care of herself. She meditates. She gets enough sleep.
Oh,
Blah blah. Eats
meditation,
healthy. Blah blah blah. She walks all the time. She's birding, which is
birding. She's a
yeah.
birder.
That's really
I
that
remember.
like hits all of her, you know, the buckets. The listing bucket because she's a little OCD. The out in nature bucket. The ostensibly helping science somehow track
It,
birds around is helpful.
yes.
Like it hits a lot of travel. She gets to go to.
Yes.
She did a big year, and she was in Ghana, and she was in Taiwan, and she was in Costa Rica and Ecuador, and all sorts of random places. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You both have no problem exploring and meeting new people and doing
No,
all the
I mean
things.
we're lucky that way in a way that we like to meet new people, and people are like, "Oh, you're moving to Portugal. How are you going to meet people?" We're like, I think we're okay. We
You
had we
just
had
talk.
we had a dinner party the other night, ostensibly for this couple that was visiting, and they were like, once they heard the number of people, because it had started at 8 and went to 10 and went to 12, went to 13, and then it was 15, then it was 17 people for dinner, and they were like, we got to get out of here. And the whole thing was for them. But they were like, we just can't handle it. They're in a place in their life where day by
It's
day. So they left a day early to go up to Spain on their way home, and then I think 15, maybe 13 showed because two people couldn't at the last minute, and then these other two were questioned. So it's 13. And we've had a lot of parties in Portugal. It's like, well, yeah, we met some people, and they're great. There's some really nice people up here.
well,
So
and I feel like they say the biggest predictor of happiness is social connections.
yeah, well, longevity, yeah, totally,
Yeah,
yeah.
and longevity, right?
These
Even
healthy
if you're
people, they're all
introverted.
eating well, and they have big community. And
Mhm.
everyone's got your back. There was some study, I think it was it might have been one of these. God, who is the guy? He's amazing, right? Malcolm Gladwell,
Oh yes.
and I think he was writing about some. It might have been somebody else, but I read a bunch of his books all at once, and they all started to blend together. But there was one story about this little town in Italy where everyone lives to be 110. They eat a lot of olive oil. They drink a lot of wine, and they all have each other's backs. They're either related or they're really closely knit a community.
Yes.
So that when Luigi's bank loan goes bust and he's about to be bankrupt, everyone sends him $10 or whatever, a couple of lira,
Ah,
or in this case euros, and it's all good. And everyone sort of looks out after each other. And that and the diet and the low stress, I think, those are the keys,
combo.
right? Yeah. It's like the election guide. These are the keys. If so and so and so,
Totally.
that nerd every 4 years, that nerd shows
I
up with his
always.
gray hair. Yeah. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's like that. It's nice to know when shit hits the fan that you have not just family, but it's like friends to help you through adversity.
Or
Like that's
protective
the key.
clothing. Yeah, like plastic.
Friends,
Yeah. Vortex.
totally.
Yeah.
That's how the world.
It's been super helpful for us. And yeah, that especially was the one time we really needed a community, and we had one. And it's
Yeah.
been really, really helpful. So in the other one, like we had another series right before I met you, I think. We had no, was I always right? No, I think I can't even remember. It was 2019, the end of 2019. I don't think I was at
Yeah.
service yet.
No.
And So my son had this major surgery. His jaw was all fakakta, like only two sets of teeth on each side were. So he like and like
Oh, uh-huh. It was not, yeah, yeah, Ellen.
two things would meet, everything else was open. So he had this major facial reconstruct. I mean, it kind of changed things around. I
Wow.
probably will need at some point because my jaw's all cooked. Anyway, so that was quite traumatic because it was a very difficult, went really well and he's great, but it was a hard surgery to recover from. So that's going on. The dog who we just adored, who I have a tattoo of here,
Oh,
decides to jump for something and she ends up breaking her back or paralyzing her legs somehow. So she's failing quickly. And then
yeah.
my mom decides to die. I mean, she has a massive heart attack or something.
So
So I've
sorry.
got to fly to the East Coast, and we're just like, holy shit, this is all. And Liz's stepfather kills himself in the middle of all of this. So there was a lot going on, and the joke there was, God, 2019, f you 2019, bring on 2020 because this year can't be done fast enough. And then got to
And
2020, and the world literally shuts down. So you can blame us for COVID. Sorry about that COVID thing, but we apparently had wished it upon everybody. But
no, but like, so in that time, you just breathe and try to take when you're okay, I gotta fly to the East Coast, get on the plane,
literally,
sit
and my wife
down.
was like, "You're doing what?" Because she was like, "What's happening?" Like it was one thing after another. She was like, "Holy crap!" And we found out about her stepfather like the day of our son's surgery. We had to keep it really quiet because you don't last thing you want to tell a kid about to go under. Oh, by the way, Grandpa blew his head off. Yeah, no, not good. So we had to keep that quiet. It was just that was a really tricky time. That was
Yeah.
super not fun. 6 weeks. It was all about 6 weeks. And I
Really?
remember flying from Jersey and the Shiva for my mother at my brother's house. A, I couldn't wait to get out of Jersey because I hate Jersey, and B, we had this 5 couple 25th wedding anniversary trip planned. Like again, my wife, the planner, had made this incredible plan in Sayulita and actually Punta Mita in Mexico, and
Oh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
beautiful house. And I was like, I am going to make that trip because I've been looking forward to that trip for so long, and it just so like I flew from Jersey on a Friday morning. I got to San Francisco. I think Saturday morning we flew back down to Mexico, and it was great. And we had to put the dog down from there on the phone with people in the house. It was insanity, but it was so nice. Again,
And
community.
then
We
you
had
just
10 of our besties were there with us, or 8 others, 4 other couples. And they were super supportive and whatever. Hey Josh,
yeah,
we're gonna go explore this. I'm like, what do you want to come? I'm like, nope. I'm gonna hang out by the pool and just cry myself here. I'm
and
just
they're
whatever.
they're
I've got
just
a
like,
beer.
"Whatever you need, man. You do
Thanks.
you."
Been Sally Lee. Nice. You have fun.
You just needed to like cool off, like too much going
Oh,
on.
there was a lot going on. So it was actually a beautiful trip, and it was very bittersweet, but
Yeah.
it's a lot better than
It
coming back to California and putting the
it's
dog down.
almost like you probably when you're sitting there, you could finally just like process, and then also you just
Yeah,
need to. You
it
can't
was.
go through that shit alone.
Yeah,
You
again, it
know.
was super helpful to have our besties right there with us. So yeah, it was important. I think yeah, I would say humor is a big deal for me, and I think big deal for you. And some
Yes.
people, it may not be as big a deal, but community is super, super helpful. And it helps, I think, for those of us who are naturally really extroverted, it does kind of help, because it's easier in a way to make
Yes.
community and stuff.
Well, and
So,
I think too, I'm going to speak for the introverts, but I know that like introverts like being around the extrovert. They kind of get that. Like we almost, I feel like you and I like to bring people together. Your wife's like that, and
oh yeah,
then the
she's really
introverts
good
are
at that.
like they don't want to do the work, and then they're like, all right, I'm out. I'm like, okay, we're just getting started, but cool. Like,
We have a group here, mostly Americans. There's a few, one or two Portuguese, and in this little group, it's like a subgroup. We call them the
yeah,
usual suspects because they're the first people we call. Hey, we're going to go out to this art thing. Hey, you want to come down to
yeah,
Porto?
yeah, yeah,
And 2 of them are really introverted. One of them is very extroverted, and one is sort of in the middle, quirky but wonderful.
yeah,
And they need some space. They need some time before and or after, and they don't want to be up late and whatever. But it's great. They're some of our best friends. So
yeah. And
some of
everyone's
my
got
best friends are introverts. I tell you, it's crazy.
hey, hey, hey. What do you forget about it?
Hey,
I try to be cool and do impersonations when I'm
you're
with you. I'm
so
like,
New York.
hey, what was that?
You're so New York. You're so hood. You're so street.
Oh, I know. Look
Whatever.
at me. I'm straight out of the hood right here.
Straight out of Pleasanton or
I'm like
whatever.
straight out of Danville.
Straight out of Danville. Exactly. Oh
um,
dear Lord. So
okay. Well, we have covered
who
adversity in
knows? We've
life.
covered Josh talking about himself. Josh talking about himself. Josh
That's
talking.
why I'm
No,
having Josh. This is an interview of you. I
okay,
asked Josh. Josh did not ask to be on the podcast. I
that's true.
actually told you. I said you're going to be on the.
I think I was
I didn't
voluntold.
ask you.
I think
I
I
was
was
like, you're going to
voluntold.
be on it. Yeah. That's how I know you're my real friend. If I'm like, yo, so when you're on the podcast, and they're like, no, I'm like, so yeah, so for the podcast.
I was like, when do you want to do it? Let's do it. Why not?
Oh
What
yeah.
else do I have? I'm writing ads today, and then I'm actually doing another webinar for another company. Yeah, they were like, "You've got some experience in us." Yeah. So
You're like, I do.
yeah, do a little prep for that. That's in a month or so, and so other than that, wife's back in California, kids are in
Yep.
California. I played a little paddle yesterday and the day before. I'm like, I'm good. I got to work. I got some
Hey.
work. So this is a wonderful way to procrastinate, basically. And
Well, and no, I think that stories like yours and just your energy needs to be broadcast worldwide because
horrifying. It's a horrifying idea. Yeah.
you're hilarious.
It would be like when they're playing bad pop music at North Korea really loud, like that. It could be like a warfare thing. Just have
The,
me talking
just,
stream of consciousness and use that
yes.
for your nefarious purposes. I think that's a great
And
idea.
then when it's over, they're like, followed by Bree Wilson's podcast. And they're like, oh.
Adventures in babysitting.
They're like,
Okay.
adventures and shut the fuck up.
Adventures in STFU. Oh, okay. That's yeah.
Oh,
That could be my podcast. Adventures in STFU.
yes.
ST. Somebody the other day started saying GDJL. I'm like, what? They're like, God damn, Josh Lebowitz. Shut up. Yeah. So.
Well, Josh, well, first of all, I'm going to thank you for
You might
coming
want
on
to listen back to this thing and then maybe get back.
No, you're going to listen to it overlooking the water in Portugal, just, having Portuguese wine and listening
God, Portuguese
to it.
wine. You can get a really nice bottle of wine for about 3 or 4 euros here. It's insane. It's
insane.
crazy.
And it's
I
like
have this Vivino app, and you're just like, how much is that? Like this incredible. You're at a restaurant, it's really nice wine. Like, oh, I wonder what the thing is. $20, $30. No, it's 372 euros. You're like, okay.
You're like, I'll take 7, please.
Yes, exactly. I'll take 4 cases of that for
Yes.
$8. Thanks.
Yes.
It's like $2 chuck, but it's actually good.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Well, no, I thank you. You're my 10th guest. You are a part of history.
Oh my God, yeah, big time. I mean, this is
in 24 years when I get a sponsor. No, one day I'm like, please sponsor me.
People will look back and they say, "Oh, the first 9 guests were okay. What happened then?" And then she course corrected, and it's been
the ratings are going to skyrocket now.
Oh yeah, you may get 3 other people listening. You never know. No.
Portugal
is at least 10 people live here. It's There's literally 10 million people in this country.
Yes.
So
all right, Josh, you got to give me a little outro.
Ooh.
And then right after your outro, I'm gonna go boom, and then I'm gonna edit it where the music's. I tell the audience what I'm gonna do while I'm
so there's going to be a big finish. Did you ever see broadcast news? There was this moment in there. No one's ever going to remember this, but in broadcast news, which is a great movie from the 80s.
Okay.
William Hurt is this pretty boy, and then Albert Brooks is the smart guy in the newsroom. Okay. But he looks like Albert Brooks, and he's got flop sweat whenever he goes on camera. So and then he doesn't quite get the girl or whatever. But at one point, these guys the musician guys, the composer guys are doing this audition for the new theme music for the news. It's like a little throwaway bit. Yeah. And they're like, da da da, big finish. And because they haven't quite worked out the big finish. But they're singing it to the guy. They're like, all right, yeah, I guess it'll work.
This is where we're going to do a big finish. Yeah.
Oh, right. The music stopped. Sorry. I have no rhythm anyway, so it doesn't really matter whether the music's actually playing or not.
You're the channel, Josh Lebowitz.
So I have to outro you. This has been episode 10 of Adventures in Adversity.
Episode 24 is 10.
Say that again.
Cut. Episode 24, guest 10.
Oh, shit. Episode 24? You've had 24 episodes?
Hell yes.
Man, I'm so sorry. Okay, guest 10. My bad. Okay.
You know what? I'm
Yeah.
pissed off. No, I'm kidding. I don't care.
I didn't realize. Look at you go. Look at you, industrious, whatever, energetic.
They all suck, but I do have
No,
24.
not true. Not true. I only heard 2 of them, but okay.
Only the
I've
ones where
heard
it's just me.
21 of them. 23 of them. Anyway,
You're the
I will
24th.
now go. I'll go do the homework. Now I have to listen. And
You don't have to. It's okay.
Yeah. Homework.
And here's the outro.
Okay.
Boom.
This has been episode 24, guest 10, the loudest guest, perhaps not the best, but the loudest guest of Bree Wilson's incredible, inspirational podcast, Adventures in Adversity. Because it may suck, but you may as well have a little fun while you're doing it. That's the world's worst tagline, but there you go. It happens when copywriters have no script. Okay, today at 8. Yeah, today at 8. Okay, on a very special ABC afternoon special, whatever, after school special. Great to talk to you as always, Bree. Love you, love your work. Say hello to the old crowd. Miss you guys, and I hope it's awesome and remains fantastic. And this was really fun. Thank you for including me.
This was amazing. Thank you so much.
Good show. Okay, big boom.
Until
Ready?
next time. And boom.